Today I'm bringing you 5 hidden gem players you must draft coming into the 2023 season. These are players going in rounds 10 or later of your redraft leagues or home leagues or underdog leagues. Comment down below which players are going in rounds 10 or later that you really believe has some hidden upside coming into this year. And as always, go to flockfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what Zach and I are doing here. Articles, rankings, bonus content, and so much more. And now, if you want to join a redraft league with myself and Zach, all you have to do is select the Mother Flocker tier when you go to flockfantasy.com using our promo code LAND. Select the Mother Flocker tier, send us a message on Discord, and we'll get you in a redraft league as soon as possible. And you can compete with Zach and I coming into this year, which is going to be really exciting. So once again, flockfantasy.com/land. And let's get straight into the video. Okay, so I'm bringing you 5 hidden gem players that you must be drafting coming into the 2023 season. Some of these names may be sexy, and some of these names are, once again, later, around 10 or later coming into this year. So my first player on this list is Rondale Moore, wide receiver 60 on Underdog. My wide receiver 57. And I want to remind you that Rondale Moore is the highest drafted player on the offensive side of the ball in a skill position standpoint outside of Hollywood Brown. This is the highest drafted player that this staff has drafted. Once again, they didn't draft Hollywood Brown, they traded for him. Next, you think of DeAndre Hopkins, who they traded for as well. Rondale Moore was a second-round draft pick coming out of Purdue in 2021. I think they might be utilizing him a little bit more coming into this year. Now, yes, the elephant in the room is that Kyler Murray is not going to be playing in the first half of the season. And when is he really going to return? I'm not necessarily sure. But let's just say he misses the first 5 games of the season. We're drafting Rondale Moore as a flex option. Let's say your format is 2 wide receivers and 2 flex or 3 flex. He's your wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 on your team. That once again is going to be plugging and play as a flex option or maybe as a bye week type of guy. And by that time, you're drafting the wide receiver 2 on a team in rounds 10 or later, whose quarterback is Kyler Murray. And once again, we don't know what that timeline is going to look like, but that can be something that we can really want to get our hands on coming into this year. Let me remind you, Rondale Moore did miss a couple games this past year. He was really struggling with injuries. He missed the first 3 games of the season and then had a nice little run from weeks 4 to 11, where he was averaging 11 points per game, fantasy points per game, averaging 5 targets per game, 5 receptions per game, and averaging 5 targets per game. That's not too bad for somebody that was essentially the wide receiver 3 on this team, now who can easily step into a wide receiver 2 role now with DeAndre Hopkins no longer on this team. So once again, wide receiver 60 for Rondale Moore, who has an elite quarterback as Kyler Murray, stepping into the wide receiver 2 role now with Hollywood Brown, Rondale Moore, and Michael Wilson, who's a 3rd-round draft pick, who we all like and who we all believe in as well. But hey, Rondale Moore can be a really good sneaky hidden gem value coming into the 2023 season. My next hidden gem player that you should be drafting is a quarterback I think is getting a little bit disrespected right now, and that is Russell Wilson, quarterback 18 on Underdog. He's my quarterback 14 right now in my rankings, and the reason why I believe he's getting disrespected because we need to remember who Russell Wilson is. Super Bowl champion here, a guy that has produced a top 15, top 20 wide receiver finishes in the past for a long time. And yes, he is with a new head coach in Sean Payton, but I think that is a lot of recency bias here with Russell Wilson in the past 2 years that we've seen him really produce. We need to remember Russell Wilson last year in Seattle, he had that finger injury where we kind of saw Geno emerge there for those 3 games. He was very up and down with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. This past year was absolutely terrible. You know, with Nathaniel Hackett and this offense, he looked like he was washed. But I'm going based off the history that we've seen with Russell Wilson and his success. I mean, 2016 QB10, 2017 QB1, 2018 QB9, 2019 QB4, 2020 QB6. That's who Russell Wilson really is. And this offense is great. A phenomenal defense. Some good pieces on the offense as well with Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Greg Dulcich, Javonte Williams in the backfield. Looks like he's getting healthy with Samaje P. Ryan coming in. And now with the mastermind of Sean Payton, who has successfully developed quarterbacks in the past, who has successfully produced high passing offenses, who has successfully, made teams competitive. And I think that's exactly where we are putting the disrespect on Russell Wilson, because I believe in what we've seen in Russell Wilson as a talent, as a fantasy producing quarterback, but I also believe in Sean Payton, who has a Super Bowl winning head coach, who has always produced, once again, a top offense in the NFL. Yes, with a completely different regime in a arguably a Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. Russell Wilson and Sean Payton is going to be mixing and gelling well together. And let me remind you what he did in the second half of the season. From weeks 13 to 18, Russell Wilson was a QB 13. Now, that doesn't sound sexy, but we need to remember how he was struggling. We need to remember how he produced Jerry Jeudy as a league-winning wide receiver in the second half of the season, and why Jerry Jeudy is being spoke about in the way he's being spoke about now in the fantasy community. Russell Wilson, once again, QB 13, averaging 19.3 fantasy points per game. In that span, he threw 8 touchdowns. I think we need to remember who Russell Wilson really is and stop putting this stigma on him, since we've seen, I think, a little bit too much of recency bias. And now we need to understand there's a new head coach, a new regime, a new opportunity coming in for Russell Wilson. And I honestly, truly do believe he still has some juice in him. 34 years old, but I think he still has an opportunity to give you some rushing upside, just a little bit, not as much as he used to back in the day. But I think there is a lot of opportunity coming in here for Russell Wilson coming into the 2023 season. So once again, QB 18, my QB 14. Get him in the late rounds. Once again, in one quarterback league, you can get him, in the rounds 10 or later, which I think is really, really exciting. My third player on this list is another wide receiver that I really believe in. Honestly, I've been kind of speaking him up and talking him up for a little bit. I think he has a little bit of a pathway to still go, but if he can find his range here going into his year 3, that is Nico Collins, wide receiver 54 in the community. My wide receiver 54 as well, so we're pretty on par. But something that I really want to bring to everyone's attention, that he is the longest tenured, if that's the word, correct me if I'm wrong, wide receiver on this team, drafted in 2021. Yeah, they draft John Mechie and they draft Xavier Hutchinson and Tank Dell, but everyone else that is on this team has been traded for, picked up somehow off of waiver wires, like a Roberto Woods, like a Noah Brown, etc., Amari Rogers. I think Nico Collins, they want to give him the opportunity here. He's going to be the outside wide receiver, a big body guy that can, go up and contest the catch for this team. Yes, I love Xavier Hutchinson. He was drafted in the 6th round. Yes, I love Tank Dell. We already have our worries about Tank as well. And normally with a rookie quarterback, yes, there's going to be a little bit of struggle, but also with rookie wide receivers, we're going to see a little bit more of development coming into this season. I think we're going to be leaning more on Robert Woods, John Mechie, and Nico Collins coming into this year. And I think Nico Collins, who it could be going up and getting those deep ball passes, those contested catches from CJ Stroud, I think that can be really, really significant. He did struggle this past year with a bunch of injuries coming into this season. He missed 6 games coming into this year, but he had some really good stints here, right? I mean, averaging 13 fantasy points in week 10 against the Giants, wide receiver 22. That was 78% of the workload, caught 5 out of 10 targets. That was his most productive game, honestly, of his career. We haven't seen too much of him. I mean, he did struggle in his rookie year as well with injuries, also missing 4 games. It was a bit up and down for Nico Collins, but if he can stay healthy, string up a couple games, we can see him. Once again, he probably not going to get drafted in your league, but if we see, hey, we need to find some good value and a good flex option, maybe Nico Collins could be that guy coming into the 2023 season. My 4th player on this list at the tight end position that just got the bag and is getting completely disrespected right now in the community, and that is Cole Kmet, currently tight end 17 right now. My tight end 12. I want to put him higher, but it's really difficult to put him higher than tight end 12 right now, but hey, you just never know what can happen. Just like I said this past year, and look what he did this past year. Finished as a tight end 8 this year with Justin Fields. Called 50 out of 69 targets, over 500 yards, 7 touchdowns, and hey, not sexy, but averaging 8.7 fantasy points per game. Now, this offense, I'm anticipating to get better. A better offensive line here with the Chicago Bears drafting Darnell Wright. They trade for DJ Moore, which can really open up this offense. Another year with Justin Fields, which I believe is going to get better as a passer. Once again, finished as a tight end 10. And let me tell you what happened the second half of the season with Cole Kmet from weeks 9 to 18, when he really started to get the range here, really started to get to the work and opportunity. He was a tight end 4 from that point. Okay, 6 touchdowns, averaging 12.4 fantasy points per game. He was third in touchdowns amongst tight ends in 2023. That was behind Travis Kelce and George Kittle. That's more than TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Dalton Schultz, who was going crazy, right? Evan Ingram, David Njoku, and so much more. That is Cole Kmet, your tight end 8, and he's getting drafted as a tight end 17 right now in communities, getting drafted later than the round 10. So if you like to do a late round tight end strategy, someone that you don't really want to pay the price for, the Travis Kelce's, the Mark Andrews, the Pat Fryermuths, the David Njoku's, etc., all those players, TJ Hawkinson, Cole Kmet can give you that high upside that can be genuinely one of your last picks coming into this 2023 season. A phenomenal pick, a phenomenal value, someone that does have a top 10 tight end finish upside, and that can bring you league winning upside, in my personal opinion, coming into this year, as I am believing in Justin Fields. So once again, tight end 17, my tight end 12 coming into the season. You should definitely go be drafting Cole Kmet. My next player on this list, coming from the tight end position, also linked with the quarterback I mentioned earlier, and that is Greg Dulcich. He is tight end 11 in the community, my tight end 11 as well. And look, I think a lot of people are truly forgetting what Greg Dulcich can do and be in this offense coming into the 2023 season. Let me remind you, this past year, he did miss the first 5 games of the season, but he did have a good run when he was on the field and healthy with Russell Wilson, where really this offense kind of just started to pick up in the second half of the season. Weeks 6 to 16, Greg Dulcich was a tight end 10. I mean, getting 33 receptions, catching 33 receptions out of 55 targets, over 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 8.6 fantasy points per game. Once again, not sexy whatsoever, but that is something that you can build up on, especially coming out of your rookie season. Now you think of this offense and what Sean Payton can do and what he can produce coming into this year with the with the tight ends that he has had success in. I mean, we can think of Jimmy Graham, Benjamin Watson, Jared Cook, all these tight ends that have had success with Sean Payton, and now Greg Dulcich, a young tight end who honestly is kind of a perfect mold for Sean Payton, who is 6'4", 245 pounds, and he can move. I think we can't forget what he was doing. Yes, Jimmy Graham was a different type of prospect, but hear out the stat here. 2012 to 2014, Jimmy Graham, tight end 1, tight end 2, 2015, Benjamin Watson, tight end 7, 2016, Kobe Fleener, tight end 15. Look, honestly, the list can go on. I can show you a graphic here on the screen where all these tight end finishes, and you had other older tight ends like a Jared Cook, Benjamin Watson, Adam Troutman really just younger, but you get what I'm saying. With Greg Dulcich coming into this year with Russell Wilson with a new scheme, and I am agreeing with Zach. Yeah, look, Courtland Sutton might be a watch now, and the true weapon on this team, the second weapon on this team behind Jerry Jeudy, could potentially be Greg Dulcich coming into the 2023 season, guys. So once again, Greg Dulcich, Cole Kmet, Nico Collins, Russell Wilson, Rondale Moore, 5 hidden gem guys that I truly believe has some really good upside that you should be drafting coming into the 2023 season. Comment down below, let me know what you guys think, and as always, It's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.